What's up, guys? Let's talk about product galleries. These are really influential today. We have cases where we were able to double conversion rate, and that is by implementing all the different things I talk about in this video. Of course, there are different nuances depending on what kind of brand you have. Is it fashion? Is it jewelry? Is it supplement? Like, that will have a huge impact on what you should focus on, and I'm addressing that in the video today. But let's just say you want to pay attention here because there's just so much left on the table. And honestly, guys, the reason why this is important is because where the traffic is coming from today and the mindset that most people are in when they come to your website. Number one, they're coming from social media or Google. They have very low attention span. You're interrupting their flow because they're scrolling and you're showing them an ad. So they have little attention. They don't want to make a huge commitment by scrolling a long PDP, and you want to convince them in 10 images or less that this product is right for them. We see this already on Amazon, where this has been a trend for many years, maybe even 10 years or so. All the images in there are super benefit rich. There's a lot of things, a lot of elements that try to convince you to buy. And frankly, the reason for that is just because of how competitive is in there. If you're selling, let's just say, magnesium supplements, there are maybe 1,000 different brands you can pick from. And honestly, if you don't convince them in 10 images or less, you're just not going to be in the run-up to get people to buy your product. They're going to continue to the next one. So I'm going to be outlining all this stuff here. As I said, you can double your conversion rate. You definitely want to pay attention here. And I'm going to give you about 12 or so different tips. I'm also going to be showing you different websites that have sort of nailed this. So there's going to be a lot of information to unpack here. As we go through this video, if you find any value at all in this, whether you're listening to the podcast or you're watching this on YouTube, please do leave a like and a subscribe. That's the only reason why I do this content. It's to get people to come back for more and hopefully help grow the channel. So let's dive straight into it. Now, I've talked a little bit about the benefits of adding in different images. Now I'm going to show you about 12 different tips on how to do this right. And the first tip I want to give you, and I'm just still shocked that a lot of brands are not doing this right, is to have really high-res images and no stock photos. This is really like the number one thing. So when I browse through different brands, I see so many examples of images being blurry, not high res, and using a lot of stock photos. If you right now have any products with stock photos, this is the first thing you need to fix. Yes, it will cost money to do a real shoot or a render that actually looks amazing, so your product will stand out and look professional. There's nothing like a stock photo that will just instantly kill conversion. You basically show that you took this image directly from your supplier on Alibaba and you don't care about the quality. It says so many things about the quality of your product, and it's basically saying it's terrible. So get rid of those stock photos. Get a proper photographer or editor to get on a shoot. Get an editor to edit those photos and make sure you get that done instantly. You can still use high-res photos even though you're concerned about loading speed. You can do a lossless compression. There's so many different free services that can do this for you. So you definitely want to pull your images through a lossless compression before you upload to Shopify or whatever. And lossless is important because basically you're reducing the size without deteriorating the quality of the photo. I'm going with the basic stuff first, and then it gets a little bit more advanced as we go down. But the second thing is to have the same image size for every single photo in your gallery. So nothing kills conversion rate more than, you're scrolling through the images in the gallery and then suddenly, it expands and is way bigger than the previous photo. It just looks so unprofessional, and you need to make sure every single image is the same size. So that's an easy one. Go through your gallery, make sure that all of them are the same size. And the third thing related to size is also to use a proper size for mobile, because a lot of different businesses are using square images, and that is not good for mobile because you're not showing off the product in a size that is suited for phone. So let me show you. I'll just change my screen here. We're gonna go over here and I'll show you some examples of good product photos. This one is decent. As you can see, it is optimized for mobile as it's not a square image. You can get much better options than the one from Midjourney. I'll show you some other ones that are also great. Here is a much better version. As you can see, it's a much longer photo here. The images are nice and crisp. This is the benchmark of what you should be aiming for in your product gallery. And this is on.com, so you can easily browse them if you want to use it. Also look at from the previous point, they're sharp, they're high quality images. Yes, this is an expensive shoot, but it's worth all the money. And it doesn't cost that much to get a photographer to shoot images like this. But this is the size and the dimensions you should be aiming for in every single one of your product galleries. Respect your visitors' time. That's the next one. Do not add in fluff and not needed images. And the main thing I see for a lot of our clients as well is that you are adding in way too many images of the same product from different angles. They don't offer a nice sort of zoomed in and zoomed out sort of perspective. They're just the same sort of distance from the product, but different angles. And yes, you can add in 1, 2, or maybe 3 images that show the different angles if it makes sense, like for a shoe or something like that. But you don't need 7 images from 7 angles. It just doesn't offer enough value. And the mindset you should be using here is that every single image should justify itself, right? It should be selling the product and it shouldn't be wasting people's time, because they're going to get really bored if you have too many images with no value in them. So number 3, respect your visitors' time. It's really, really important. Number 4 is to add in a zoom feature for your products and your gallery. And that doesn't make sense for every product. Like you could imagine if it's a supplement, it might not make sense. But for fashion, it makes a lot of sense. For shoes, it makes a lot of sense. And the list really goes on. There's a lot of products where it makes sense. And I'll show you an example of that so you can see the execution you should be looking at. So Midjourney has one of the better solutions here. So if I click the zoom button, look at that. It expands full width and there's a nice exit button here. Now I can really see the jewelry from a really, really nice zoomed in position, and I can see the quality of the product and so forth. So that's really nice. And you could do this on every single image and you can just see a really, really nice zoomed in. So I can really clearly see the quality of the product. Look at that. That's absolutely gorgeous. I can see the quality of the jewelry, and you can be sure that this is increasing conversion rate. So that's the zoom feature you need to have, and a lot of different stores are not using zoom feature. Here for supplements, obviously it doesn't make a lot of sense. There's no zoom feature, but here is another fashion brand that is not doing a particularly good job at showing they have zoom, because I don't see the spyglass, so I'm not necessarily sure if they have it or not. And you have to click here, and that is a good feature, but this doesn't necessarily indicate right away that there's zoom. It could also be that it's, buttons to see the size of the model. So you want to make it natively easy. Here we don't even have a zoom in button. So again, it's not great. You want to show it off because more people will interact with it if you do it. The 5th thing you should definitely be doing is adding arrows to your images. And that does sound kind of like obvious for a lot of people, but the thing we've noticed is that when you add in arrows, the increased engagement with the gallery goes through the roof, and that usually, if you have a good gallery, translates into a higher conversion rate. So we can look at an example like 2/3 here is another big brand, and what we're seeing here is that they decided to make the arrows with a background so they stand out. You can imagine if they didn't have the background, then those arrows would kind of fade into the back, and I can tell you that their conversion rate is higher because of these arrows. I can also tell you that way more people are engaging with it because of that, right? So that's a huge one. Here we can see an example of you cannot even see the little dots down here where there's more images. So there's very, very low engagement with this gallery. It's not a good one at all. Here we see one where we can also not see how many additional images there are because of the way that it's been displayed here, and there's no arrows. So again, it's a really bad execution. So there are good and bad here, and this is really, really important. We recently just did this test, by the way, for a fashion brand, and I think we saw like a 30% increased conversion rate when we added arrows in the gallery up here, and then also in additional images that had further down the page. So basically we just made all the images and all the galleries more accessible, and that was actually, I was surprised how big that win was, to be honest with you. So let's go back. Next tip we have is to make sure that the thumbnails are motivating people to scroll for more images. And a lot of the example I just showed you now, actually we don't see that the thumbnails are engaging. We don't see that the thumbnails are doing anything to get people hyped about clicking and seeing more products on the actual website. So I'll actually show you an example now. I just thought about it, of Everlast, which is another apparel brand, which you don't necessarily have to be a fashion brand for this tip to be relevant. In fact, this is going to be relevant no matter what you're selling. So keep that in mind as well. So look at that. Instead of just having the little dots under the image, we have the actual images underneath. And this is a great way to spark increased engagement and get more people to click on the gallery. It's really, really important. I don't have any other examples here, I think, because no one is doing it. And that goes to show how big of an issue it is, right? Here's one example where they have it, and this is very, very powerful that they have it underneath, but this is a good execution down here. So this is something that increases conversion rate. The problem with Everlast here is, they're only showing the same images from different angles. I would have loved to see this in a lifestyle shoot. I wanted to see this with pairing with other types of tops as well. Other types of shoes would have been really nice. And it's the same angle as well. So this could have been better, but at least the thumbnails are really good. And this is what you should be benchmarking with. The next one, number 7, is to always use close up and zoomed out photos for your gallery. So you want to add different perspectives, not just the same. And Majority was actually a really good example of that. So let's go back and let me share that again. So we're on this gallery. So we have first a product shown like this, hanging like that. And then we have one that is on an actual neck and is a little bit further zoomed out. And then we have one that has a different perspective again. And this is really critical because when you're analyzing whether you want to buy a product, you are not looking at jewelry or another type of product as a standalone thing. You're looking at how it fits together with a shirt or how it looks with your shoes or whatever it might be. If it's makeup, you're looking at how that will affect, the way the light hits you. So there's a lot of different things that come into play and you need to show that off. So different perspectives are important. Zoom ins like this is really important to judge the quality and the craftsmanship, while zoom outs are really important to judge how it fits together with everything else. Always consider this product I have, what is it used together with? Or what is the effect of my product before and after, stuff like that. So the different perspectives, zoomed in, zoomed out, is really, really critical. Again, don't waste your visitors' time by adding in 4 images slightly rotated but same zoom. That is just not going to work. So definitely one that you want to remember as well. That was number 7. And number 8 is always use lifestyle and studio photos in every single gallery because people want to see the product in a real world environment. I think this is extremely underutilized because I just analyzed about 10 different stores when I did the research for this video, and I found that 2 out of those 10 stores were using lifestyle shoots. Of course, it's because it's expensive. You have 1,000 SKUs, 200 SKUs. If you had to do a photo shoot for every single product, that would cost you a lot of money, a lot of energy, a lot of time. The gateway or the way to sort of do this easily is to add in UGC if you cannot afford a lifestyle shoot. So get in some UGC of high quality that shows your product off in a real world environment. It has the benefit of showing to people that it's legit, that somebody's using this in the real world, that if it's UGC, that real people are using it, but also it shows the product off in a real environment, and light is really important here, and being able to see it works in a real world environment is important here. So imagine that somebody bought a shirt, they want to see how it looks together with a background, what it looks like when real sunlight is reflecting on it and not studio light. And you can imagine this for all types of product. That is really, really important. Even if you're talking about, say, supplements, lay it out on a countertop with a little bit of contrast so you can see the pills pouring out of the bottle, right? Like show it off without that studio light because it adds realism to your product, that people believe that this is a real product and there's someone using this, there's someone that actually bought this product in the past. So this is a massive, massive conversion booster, and it's very, very much underutilized today. So this is something I would definitely use.